Hello everyone and welcome to the very 8th Don't Be Bored podcast. Today we're going to talk about promo cards because it was being talked about on the board game subreddit and there were some interesting opinions in there. Also, maybe a game that I've played recently. You'll have to keep your ear holes open, maybe for that one. So there was a thread posted up by a user called Lawrence PP on the board game subreddit, and the opinion was that promo cards suck. Now let's read out what they said. I really dislike the existence of these things. I'm somewhat of a completionist and these, often unobtainable cards, always give me this nagging feeling that I'm missing out on existing aspect/content of the game. I know it's not necessarily the case, but just the knowledge that I don't have everything from a game I love annoys me greatly. I think publishers should offer all promo cards for a reasonable price a year after the promo or something, just so everyone has the possibility to buy them, and the same goes for extra backer content in a way. Now, I think they've hit the sort of thing on the money in two different aspects. First of all, they have said they are a completionist. Straight away, you do not need to own every promo card or tile or whatever for every game. I've got a number of them. In fact, I think I've got all of them for Terraforming Mars. Terraforming Mars is a game with a huge deck of cards. And how often do you go through that whole deck in a game? Well, I'd say it's quite rare. Certainly in a two-player game, you go through maybe half of it. And that's if someone has a really heavy card draw deck, engine sort of built up. So you're not going to see that card every single time. Some games you will see it every time. I have a number of promo tiles from, say, Essen Spiel for Carcassonne, just a nice little extra tile. I really like these tiles because they just add a bit of variety, and when they come out they make it a unique sort of experience that you're not going to get from a normal Carcassonne set. Do you need them though? No. If you're wanting to play a great game of Terraforming Mars or Carcassonne, you do not need these promos. Have I gone out of my way personally to try and get some of these promos? A little bit. So I can understand where they're coming from with this completionist one. When you do really love a game and you see that tile or extra card, you're like, yeah, I kind of want to just be able to shuffle that into the deck and just enjoy it when it comes out. I'm pretty sure one of the ones for Terraforming Mars, for instance, is penguins, and, well, I love penguins, they're a cool animal, so why wouldn't I want it? The issue does become when things become unavailable. Kickstarter has a lot of the time the fault, I would say here, of having things exclusive. I, as a Kickstarter backer or GameFound backer or whatever platform it's on these days, if you back something you get a load of cool stuff. I am of the opinion you're throwing that in as part of what you've predetermined is a good price for all of that content anyway, but hopefully I'm getting a good deal out of it. If it means that you're saying I'm never going to sell this again, I don't, as a person that's getting it, I don't mind. Yes, I suppose it's driving that fear of missing out, that FOMO, but if they were to say, look, you will be able to get all of this content later on, but it will cost you a lot more, I still think that that same FOMO of missing out on the cheaper price, getting it earlier, and this person does actually present maybe a good option. Maybe just say these are going to be a year-long exclusive and they will be available after the fact. I get there's print runs and everything. We're not talking like a video game where you could say, oh, here's a bit of DLC to anyone that pre-orders, which is effectively the same thing, and then a year later go, okay, now everyone can have access to that extra mission or item of clothing, you know, that new hat that character can wear. It's not the same for board games, and the reason for that is because they need to be printed, they're physical things. And just like with games going out of print, promo cards will go out of print. They're only going to do so many print runs of a promo card. If it's out of stock and unavailable, personally, I'm like, okay, that's annoying, I've missed that, but I'm not going to go and spend, or, hugely marked up price, but some people will. However, if they were to say, look, we've got, say, 5,000 Kickstarter backers, we've been able to print 10,000 copies, but we're not going to sell them until at least everyone's had their actual copy delivered, and then after 6 months we'll open it up on our web store to sell, and then just let the amount run out. I'm fairly happy with that. I wouldn't be opposed to that, because I'm trying not to get drawn into Kickstarters through FOMO. A few recently I've looked at and gone, I really would like to play that, but A, it's going to cost a lot of money to get, B, I could just wait. Yes, there's some nice things and bits about it, but do I really need them? A prime example is Earth. I've actually recently played Earth. I talked about it a couple of podcasts ago. I did look into, very briefly, how much it would cost me to get the Kickstarter edition. It comes with very few upgrades. A few nice wooden tokens, which, I'm probably going to go on, like, when I get the game, probably will go on like a not second-hand, but like an Etsy sort of shop to get some nice wooden leaf tokens or something like that. They're an upgrade that can definitely be done. The soil tokens is probably the ones that even Kickstarter backers want to upgrade. It also had a bunch of promo cards, not a huge amount though. I kind of was umming and ahhing, do I want to pay extra now to get this and have those extra cards? And in the end I thought, you know what? First of all, at that point I hadn't played the game, so I was like, no, I've got an opportunity coming up to play the game. Let's just see if I actually like it first. And two, I don't know how much those promo cards are going to impact the game. I didn't know at the time how big the deck in Earth is. It's bigger, I would say, than Terraforming Mars's was, without any expansions in. That's pretty big and bold for a game when you're then shuffling in just a few extra sort of cards. I think there was like maybe a set of 12 cards to add into the mix, but I think they were actually scoring objectives rather than from the main deck or something. And it was just like, you know what, I don't really need that for the extra price. Would I, if I had the opportunity at, say, UK Games Expo, they might be selling leftover stock of their promo cards for like a £5, would I pick them up there? Yeah, maybe I would. In fact, one of the things I pick up often at a convention are promo cards and promo things. I use them almost as like a nice little extra way to freshen up a game, or a memento of going to a convention. Like I said, with the Carcassonne ones, I've got some of the Essen Spiel tiles from the times I've gone. So when that tile comes out, I can see it and go, oh, Spiel 19, oh, I remember, yeah, that was a really cool year, and I managed to get that tile. They're also nice little ways to just spend a little bit of money at one of these shows, not coming away with, armfuls of board games, but maybe pocketfuls of new cards or whatever for your favourite game. And I don't find anything wrong with that. That being said, there is one game, Unmatched, of which I have no promo cards, even though there are many available. They literally just swap out certain cards for foil equivalents in certain decks. I don't really need shinier cards, even though shiny is always good. If they, it's not adding anything. If anything, it's just swapping, and then I've got a similar matching non-shiny card, and it's like, well, do I put that in the bin? What do I do with this? Because otherwise I'll maybe forget and shuffle it in accidentally or whatever. So I find that promo cards overall, I like them, but I can see the real frustration when they get sort of put behind a exclusivity barrier. I do wish that companies would actually change that. But as a lot of the comments on that Reddit thread said, if you don't need everything of a game, it's fine. If you can free yourself from the need to own every single bit of it, then you'll do yourself a lot of good and probably save yourself a lot of money in the long run. Another user on that thread called Durkrin, that's probably butchered that completely, had a really interesting look at this, saying that a lot of times that the promo cards are actually unbalanced and can make the game worse. And I actually somewhat can see that logic here. Promo cards are often an afterthought. They're, oh, we need to put something extra in. It's not going to be tested like a full expansion. It's not going to have been tested in that original deck as the game was played. So it could actually swing things in and out. Now, one thing for Terraforming Mars is each sort of tag has its own sort of frequency, how often it is in the deck. Now, if you put in only promo cards that are, say, featuring a science tag or something, you could actually skew the deck to make that science tags are easier to get, and therefore you're also meaning, if say you put just any tags in but no animal ones, all of a sudden anything that was giving you points for animals or triggering off animal tags being played, then actually that's got worse by you adding those promo cards. So I think this is an entirely valid point, that promo cards don't necessarily improve your game. They could make it worse. Now, in a game like Terraforming Mars, I have to go along the logic of, but not to the same extent as Ark Nova or something like that, or maybe Earth. The deck is going to give you what it gives you. You're going to have to try and do the best with that, and as long as you're happy with that, and know that maybe you won't see any of those tags that you were really after, well, then you'll do okay. So there you have it, my take on promo cards. To some extent there is a FOMO, and I fall into that, but I do believe that they should offer them, even Kickstarter exclusive stuff, etc. I do think they should be offered, even if it's a delayed year later, 6 months later or whatever. Even if it's a slightly higher price, I think other people should be allowed to try and get hold of that somehow, because in some games it just, I mean, look at any CMON game, it effectively can treble, if at least double, if not treble, the number of units or types of enemies or whatever come in the box. And in some cases it can turn what would be a good game into a great game. There's also a lot of the times where it can turn a great game into a great game that takes up a lot more room on the shelf. And also that, well, actually, it might not always technically improve the game, even if it improves the game for you. But let me know your thoughts on promo cards in the comments section below. As I loosely touched on it, and UK Games Expo is slowly but surely getting closer, why not talk about it? And one of the things that I have actually purchased most at the convention in the sort of last few years has actually been small little upgrades or those promo tiles and cards. One upgrade that I've purchased and I am absolutely happy with, I would 100% recommend it to any Wingspan fan, and that's upgrading your cubes from, well, cubes into cute little birds. So I've got a set of puffins, one of owls, and a few different birds, so that there's enough for 4 players to play as a different type of bird. I've also upgraded the first player token from that sort of cardboard bird token to a wooden sort of, not 3D, but a wooden, nice thick bird of the same design. That's something I picked up at UK Games Expo from one of the little stands, and I have thoroughly loved getting the game to the table, and every time I unbox it going, who wants to be which bird? I think that, you know, in a game like that, it really can elevate them. Just such a small upgrade almost. I'm not gonna lie, it's not a cheap upgrade. I think each set of birds, and you've got what, 8 cubes, so 8 birds, and I think each were about £12, or maybe it was £8. It was basically at least about £1 per cube I was upgrading from, you know, a cube to a nice little wooden meeple of a bird, and then you've got a set of 8 of them because that's what you need for the game. And it was like, okay, this is a big investment to do it for 4 different birds. And they had, I would say, probably close to 50 to choose from. And, you know, I went through the box. It took me quite a bit of time at the stand to picking out my favourite 4 sets, and then that 5th thing being the first player marker. But it just took a game that I really do like and just added extra to it. No longer is you playing as the blue, you are currently playing as the owl, and that to me just felt that bit more special. I've got one that's sort of from the Oceania sort of area, so a bit of visual variety as well as sort of for that expansion, you can play as that, and then that card can come out of the deck, and that's quite a cool little thing. And I would highly recommend them, and if you're going to UK Games Expo, that was kind of a cool thing to buy. I think it was Meeple something, maybe Meeple Corner Extras, something like that had all of these upgrades to like Wingspan or other games where it was sort of upgrading coins, to metal coins and different things like that. And that's a really nice thing that you can get. Not only, again, like I said before, does it mean you don't come home with just huge amount of new games, it means you can upgrade, maybe slightly refresh, or just make your current games that bit nicer. And that's something to be said for going to a convention and coming back and playing a game that you've already got in the collection, rather than tearing off a lot of new cellophane off new games. Don't get me wrong, you're going to want to buy new games and you'll probably get a few, but maybe just think about upgrading or getting that expansion to a game that you've already got. Anyway, that wraps up another episode. Thank you for lending me your ear holes, and until next time, have a great day gaming.